Hello and welcome to the season finale of This Week in Oakland, episode 12. Can't believe we've done now 12 episodes of This Week in Oakland, and I thought a very nice place that we could finish is here at Potash Lake, one of the true gems here in Oakland, New Jersey, in just terms of just general beauty. It's so nice to see people, kayaking and on their boats and down just like enjoying nature. And let me tell you, we have a few segments in here that I think you're all gonna love and appreciate. We really run the gambit on this episode, I'll tell you that, in terms of everything that we're going to be including in here as part of this finale episode. So sit back, relax, make some popcorn, and enjoy this finale episode. And make sure you also share it with your friends, family, and neighbors as well. We've appreciated all of you who have been watching all these episodes over the last now 12 weeks, and those also watching online on our YouTube channel. And I'm even hearing from people from other towns who are watching and enjoying this program, so thank you for watching. But now, I'm sure you don't want to hear me talking anymore, so let's get to the programming and enjoy our season finale here of This Week in Oakland.
Thank you very much for joining us, Mayor. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
How can we not? How could we not? Reflecting on this year so far, how do you think Oakland has dealt with what we're all dealing with all over the country, of course, but Oakland in particular, with, the COVID has certainly impacted our town.
I think with all the elected officials working together, with the borough employees, our professionals, our school personnel, they really did a super job. And of course, the residents. We're all working together. The children have been wonderful. I don't know if you know, I was doing story time on Wednesday mornings for the preschoolers. And it was just so enjoyable watching them just as I was reading the books to them on Zoom, and they were listening. And then the last day we did a craft, an art craft about the rainbow, and discussed the rainbow and about, there's the end of the rainbow.
Oh, that's great. We should is that on video or is it?
It was on Zoom. It was on Zoom with, through the library. And then I did a town hall, some teachers a few teachers, I think it was the second grade at Heights Elementary School. And we did a town hall, and the students were incredible with their questions and attentive. And it was just unbelievable. They had all their questions ready for me. And it was a real town hall with students via Zoom. So I think the children have adapted more easily than the adults, because all this technology is really,
right.
It's been tough to learn. Look, I had a hard time getting on today because I typed in the password.
Right. Oh goodness. I mean, I didn't know what Zoom was in February. And
right.
Here we are. Right.
Now with the recreation, I did a recording today for tonight on the recreation, on what's opening up. Camp is starting Monday. They have been working so hard to get the rec camp going with all the guidelines and all the healthcare facilities getting ready. I was talking to my fellow mayors, and they were shocked that we were able to do this. I said, well, we've been working hard on that. Today I'm announcing that on Monday, the playgrounds are opening. The walking path, you can start jogging. What else? All the bathrooms were redone. Thank you to the DPW, they're fabulous. there are just so many people working together. And if we didn't have the cooperation of everybody working together, we could not be as progressive as we are.
Also, Mayor, I know that you and just like everyone else, I mean, we didn't have much notice about just in general, just in the country. I mean, a lot of companies, a lot of towns, suddenly we heard lockdown.
Right.
And what was that like? I mean, all of a sudden you had to reimagine the way you do government, the way you lead.
Well,
right?
look, you're speaking from your living room. I'm speaking from my law office. When we have council meetings, I'm usually sitting in my kitchen because that's where I could set up the my computer with all the papers for the agenda. As you know, I'm a lawyer, so I've been doing court trials on Zoom. Like I said, we're adapting and we're learning. And you know, it's interesting because my Rotary Club has a project whereby they're asking our young people, students up to 12th grade, to submit an artwork, a story, or a poem about their experience during this time in history. And it's going to be like a scrapbook time capsule that it's going to be in the library, because we're going to look back at this time in history and say, we did it. We all worked together. We did it.
Exactly.
That's the bottom line, working together.
Right. What were some of the more challenging things in terms of council meetings and even talking to other officials, like you do during any other time, but now you couldn't physically, right, get together?
Yes. We're talking about trying to start in-person council meetings maybe at the end of the summer. I know many other towns are not even going to consider it before September. But so we're all in our homes. We're speaking as we're speaking via Zoom. Even if we do have council meetings in person, we're going to have to do social distancing. So we won't be able to sit at the dais up front. We'll have to spread out in the room. And we won't be able to allow public in because there won't be enough space for everybody to come in. And how do you pick and choose who walks in and who doesn't? It's difficult, but again, we'll adapt. Now, Senior Center was closed. They did outdoor programming, and shortly we'll maybe start opening up the programs within the Senior Center, little by little. And that's what we're doing. We're taking baby steps to get to the end line. Whereas some other states, I have a son in Texas who was just telling me, it's just, he was telling me he's eating at the restaurant. This was weeks ago. And he's enjoying outdoor dining. And then he went inside in the restaurants and everything is open. And now we can't go to Texas because my son is saying he can't come here because that's one of the states that the numbers just spiked up.
You always have, in every community, you have people who say, well, let's open up. I want to be out there. I don't really want to wear a mask. And then you have other people who say, no, you have to wear a mask. And, I mean, I've seen that obviously on Facebook, Oakland Facebook pages. I mean, it's the same conversation that people are having everywhere, even within a household. And so what would you say to people? Like, I know some people are concerned when they go to the rec field. Some people have masks, some people don't have masks, some people observe social distancing, some people don't.
Well, it's not required outdoors, it's recommended. When we do open up the library on Monday, you will have to wear a mask. When we open up the municipal buildings, you will have to wear a mask, just as it is when you go into an indoor business.
Right.
But outside, because it's not required, it's only recommended. That's the difference. I have a hard time with the mask. My glasses fog. I don't know if you would. I put the mask on. I'm learning how to adjust the glasses so that they don't fog. But as soon as I get out of the store, I have to at least open it up a little bit to defog my glasses.
Right. Yeah.
And it's hard for me to speak through it. But I have experienced outdoor dining, which I love, with my husband, when we wear the mask from the car to the table, but then we take off the mask and then we put it back on. But I've seen people walking in and out of the restaurant without a mask at all.
Yes. But when you're in an outdoor area, as you said, you know, it's a guidance, it's a CDC guidance, but it's not something that's enforceable, right? For the most part. So
Now, I made my announcement for the weekend with the bowling alleys opening, everything opening. It's going to be really tough for them because that's a close-up sport, going bowling on your bowling team. Playgrounds are opening next week in Oakland. And I don't know how, what, I don't know how they're going to be cleaning the surfaces and what they're going to be doing. But I know some stores you have to wear gloves. I've been to some food stores where they won't let you in without a mask and gloves. I don't think that's required on outdoor avenues of activities.
right, it's true. I do wear gloves, but oftentimes I'm the only one. You know, you've been giving daily updates and everything, and that's great. Not, you know, I know a lot of towns don't do that, and people, it just makes people worry even more, you know, when they're not hearing from their own community. So I know that many people commend you.
Except I did get an email where someone complained that I shouldn't be giving updates on how many people have the virus. They thought that was right, the voice of doom.
Oh my.
Yet other people want to hear, and they mark it down. It's almost like they keep a chart. I learned this when I first became mayor, and we were in the middle of a hurricane, and I realized that people want information, and they would even if it's not good information, and it's dismal out there, they want to know what's happening. Because if you don't know what's happening, it's worse in your mind. You think about the worst possible scenario. So to me, it's important to give the updates. We do it on the website, we do it on the Facebook page, I do an email, and I record. I started by recording every day. Then I heard people were tired of my voice. I'm tired of my voice. So, and the updates aren't that fast as it was in the beginning. The news has slowed down. So now starting, I think 2 weeks ago, we did 2 times a week. So this week I did Monday and tonight because tomorrow everything is closed.
Right.
And I'll be back on Monday and I'll do Friday. And then maybe, you know, we'll go down to once a week until it's all over. Or there's nothing more to say. Everything is open. That's what people are waiting for. They want to know what's happening. And we have a very good website. Michael, our assistant administrator, he updates that website daily, and there's so much information on it.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. I mean, I think I'd rather have the information and then you can choose whether or not you're going to look at it all the time, but at least you have it. So, and let's hope, Mayor, that that the cases don't go up again, you know, and so let's all, hopefully we'll all be responsible.
Well, let's see what happens in September with school. I don't envy the school board, the school professionals, and the teachers, how they're going to manage. I don't know how they're going to manage it.
Yeah.
I give them a lot of credit.
I know. I don't have little kids anymore, but I have relatives who do, and you know, they're torn because on the one hand, they want their child to be in the classroom and get that instruction. And no matter how good things are over Zoom, for some people, it's just not the same thing as being in a classroom. On the other hand, they think, how is my child who's 5 or 6 years old, he's not going to keep a mask on. He's just not. So
that's be the test of time.
So anyway, so yeah, but again, these are new frontiers, right, for us. So Mayor, let's switching off to something more cheerful.
Okay.
What would you, if you had a magic wand, what's one change you would make or something you would do in Oakland if you could?
Just one?
Well,
you know, when you're dealing with government, there's so much bureaucracy, so everything is slow.
I'll give you, it'll be like the magic lamp. I'll give you 3 wishes.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, this I don't have to worry about because the stream house is coming down. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, it took a little bit longer. but before the end of the year, you will not see the stream house.
Ah,
Okay, so I don't have to wish for that. That's coming down.
yay. Okay.
Working with sewers has been since it's 8.5 years I've been working on sewers. And the sewers are important in the downtown because it will help bring businesses and help maintain businesses, which helps always to stabilize the economy in any town. And we're going to be working on beautifying. Once the sewers come in, then we can really concentrate on beautifying the downtown area and make it a really pretty downtown, which is what I'd love to see. Right now, they're working on Station Park, which is Bush Plaza right by railroad tracks.
Yes.
That will be very pretty. It will be very nice. But if I had a wish, I'd remove the railroad tracks because then we could do something with the intersection, which would help traffic. But my dream has been since day one.
All right, let's hear it.
Oh, the drum roll. I would like a river walk between Great Oak Park and the recreation field.
Oh, that would be beautiful.
Yes, that's my dream.
That would be wonderful. That would be great. And so those are wishes. Now, what are some perhaps less, I guess, grandiose things that you have on your agenda for, say, the following year or the rest of this year?
You know, just maintaining the town with the problem we're having with financing because of the pandemic, and with the budgeting, which it's tough. It's, you know, all municipalities, all state governments, the federal government. It's going to be difficult to maintain the full services with the amount of money we have. That's going to be a tough job this year.
Right. Yeah, I can imagine. Mayor, also, we have a lot of people who commute from, right, to jobs in the city and elsewhere, but in the city, right? And I know that I'm one of them. And there's a concern about just public transportation and how that's going to work, of course. But do you have any idea, maybe it's the bus company, but how social distancing would work at places like the bus stop by car?
I think the government is requiring the transit companies to, well, I know the cleaning, they have to do very, very special cleaning regularly. I don't know how they're going to do it. I heard they're going to have to put plastic partitions on the school buses. And I said, how do you do that? So if they have to put on the school buses, are they going to have to do it on the commuter buses?
Yeah.
I don't know how that's possible.
Yeah. Because
and you'll probably have to wear a mask.
Yeah.
Maybe was it 2 seats together?
Yeah.
On the buses?
I think there was an email by one of the companies that said that they were going to limit it to one person per row, and you had to wear a mask. Although I must say, the rows are very tight. I mean,
yes.
They make airplane rows seem like, you know.
I know. So I don't know how they're going to do it. Probably then, are they going to add buses? Because that means half the commuters can't get on a bus.
Yeah, right. And you can't really wait. You know, you have to be at work at a certain time.
Right. So they're going to add buses, which means I bet the commuter ticket will go up.
Yeah.
Everything else went up, all the prices.
I know. Well, you know, then again, maybe a lot of people from Oakland will be able to work from home more, because
I think more companies are encouraging that.
Yeah. So that would be nice. So what else would you like to tell the people of Oakland?
Just we have to work together, and we'll move along, and we'll get there.
Yeah.
Eventually, there will be, I hope, a vaccine. This will all be past. It'll be a memory in history. We'll look back, and maybe, and hopefully, we will learn from it. You know, I think one of the things was it forced us to slow down. We were really in a very fast pace in our society. And what this did was forcing us to stop and breathe the fresh air almost.
Yeah. How has it done that for you? What have you taken up a hobby, or are you
I'm cooking more.
make the sourdough bread?
I'm cooking. All of a sudden I'm cooking.
Were you a cook before?
Oh.
Yeah.
And you know, it is nice to work from the home. It's nice to be on Zoom. But it's not good not to have all the social interaction. And that's why I worry about with the children. They're not getting the social interaction that they need in person. You know, not touching people,
Right.
but communicating in person. And that's what's missing. That's the most important thing that's missing.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, even for adults, now a lot of mental health professionals say that, it is important, to have that contact. I mean, Zoom is fine, but it's not a multi-dimensional,
No,
experience, right? And
absolutely.
yeah. So, Mayor, anything more you'd like to say?
I just thank you. First of all, I thank you personally for taking over the Crossroads. And I hope everybody starts looking forward to, we're going to have a community garden. Thank you to Allison Fleeson and Carol Peterson, who was able, and not only did they organize it and really created it, but they were able to help us get the grant for the garden, which is wonderful.
Yes, and now that you mention it, and I love gardens, can you talk a little bit about what that's going to be? What
You're asking the wrong person, because not only do I not cook, I don't garden. But Allison Fleeson and Carol Peterson are going to be honored on Monday for all their work by our congressman. And I'll be watching on Zoom. It used to be a beautiful ceremony. Everybody sat together, watched them, watched all the award winners from each town called Hometown Heroes. And on Monday, in my office, I'll be watching them accept their awards via Zoom.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's terrific. Yeah.
And they'll work on the garden.
Oh, okay. I've got a green thumb, but I love.
Oh, well, maybe you could work with them, with the green team.
Yes, that would be great.
And I want everyone to know, and you know that if you email me, I will answer. I don't always answer that day, but I eventually do get to it. I never leave anybody hanging, and I don't always have the answers, but I could always forward it to the right professional in the town. I have an open door policy in my office. Well, not now because of the pandemic, but people can walk in. They can call me on my office line. I don't always answer it because I'm busy with a client, but I will get back to it. I do return calls, and I certainly will return emails. So if anybody wants to know anything, please do not hesitate to contact me.
All right. And what we'll do is we'll post your email so that people can see it and reach out.
Thank you. Yes.
That's wonderful. Once again, thank you so much. Really, it's such a pleasure.
And I can't wait till we could sit and have a meal together at a restaurant.
That would be great.
We've been talking about that.
But we're going to do it. We will.
Absolutely. As soon as the restaurants can open.
All right. And then if we get a band shell, we'll do our little karaoke.
Absolutely. You got it. Thank you.
Mayor. Bye-bye. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, I'm Keith Sanzari, Chief of the Oakland Police Department. On behalf of the entire police department, I would like to take this opportunity to sincerely thank all the Oakland residents and business owners for the outpouring of support and kind words that have been expressed and shared with the Oakland Police Department during the COVID-19 pandemic. A special thank you to all the Oakland residents and businesses for their generous donations to the Oakland Police Department. We received many pieces of personal protective equipment, or PPE, from a number of residents and businesses. These items proved to be critical in keeping officers healthy while performing their jobs during the pandemic. We also received meals and treats from many local food establishments and from residents in town, which assisted in keeping the staff going and proved to be an uplifting gesture. The resiliency and patience displayed by the Oakland police staff, coupled with your support and encouragement, undoubtedly assisted us in persevering through this difficult time. Over the course of the previous 4 months, the Oakland Police Department was forced to make significant changes to its operations. These changes were critical in order for the officers and staff to remain healthy during the pandemic while simultaneously continuing to provide top-level law enforcement services to Oakland. We were also impressed and appreciated the fact that the residents and businesses of Oakland overwhelmingly followed the regulations, guidance, and executive orders issued by the governor, the CDC, and other regulatory state and county agencies. This made our job safer and easier during the pandemic. These actions and the community's support remind myself and the rest of the Oakland Police Department why we are so proud to serve the residents of Oakland. In closing, please remember all of the Oakland residents we have lost to COVID-19, the residents currently fighting the illness, and all who may still have a fight ahead of them. Thank you again for all of your support.
My name is Roy Balberger. I'm the Emergency Management Coordinator for the Borough of Oakland. I've been given the opportunity to give a little talk about OEM, what we do, how we got there, and give you a little bit of my background also. Emergency management actually started post-Civil War, where they felt the need to create a local emergency group in the event of a disaster or any kind of emergency. It then morphed into the Office of Emergency Management about 25 years ago. By state statute, each municipality in the state of New Jersey has to create an Office of Emergency Management with an emergency operation plan to address the needs of their community, and also create what they call a LEPC, a Local Emergency Planning Committee, of various people from the community. So that's how we kind of got to OEM. My background is I joined the Oakland Fire Department in probably 1979. Spent about 33 years there, 6 as chief, held every firematic office, also was engineer for quite a few years. And I've been the emergency management coordinator for about over 20 years. I'm a mechanical contractor by trade, kind of a good fit. I understand how things work. Utility system is a big part of the job. So back to the OEM side. So we create a local emergency planning committee, and this group gets together. We plan to address the needs of all the hazards that could happen in our community, disasters, whatever. And they're from all walks. We have people from the commercial industry that have high hazard businesses, and they're governed by the office, by Homeland Security. I meet with those people. So we create this plan. It's 18 annexes. So each division or each separate entity has to address the needs of their particular group and write this into the plan. It's done every 4 years. It's a lot of work, and it's a lot of effort by all the people that we put into it. And but it's something. So we resort to that emergency operation plan. We execute that whenever we have to. Obviously, in the case of a disaster, we have shelter coordinators. We actually have people on the staff that are capable of taking care of animals, and we have a certain amount of materials and cots and blankets and things of that sort. We also do short-term sheltering, which we call more of a warming center. We've done that during storms on the highway where people from out of state just had no place to go, so we create a shelter for them, a short-term shelter, and give the people a place to get warm, make a phone call, get them something to eat. Another big thing we do is that I was heavily involved with was utility restoration. We created a plan called UROP, Utility Restoration Operation Plan. Through a lot of these disasters, we had a lot of trouble communicating with the utilities and getting them all together. We had groups from Georgia, we've had them from Colorado, and basically they'd get to our community and they didn't even want to speak to us. And we said, that's crazy. We have a lot of local resources and the means to help execute and get the utilities back on as soon as possible, get information back to the public as to when their utilities are going to be restored. So we got together with the Mayor's Association. They put the pressure on our local utility companies. We met with them, and they kind of mimicked the Oakland plan, and we now have created a plan with our utilities that there will be a single source of information or single contact person during an event. So not everybody's making the same phone call to the same person. So we share information. We have a briefing every morning. We discuss what the needs are going to be, what roads will be closed, what kind of utilities are going to be worked on, what police presence is needed, local machinery, whatever. These people have shown up in cold weather with no gloves or hats. We've actually supplied those to the people. So our goal is to get them into town, get them organized, offer everything we have. There's places in town that these people don't, that just doesn't show on a map, or where we know local utilities are run in remote areas. We have the mountain areas. So our information to them makes the whole job a lot easier and safer for everyone. So we now have that plan in place. They're being very responsive. They've done a lot of great work in town as far as cleaning up trees around the wires and that. So that's a good thing that's been happening recently. Also work with the Flood Commission heavily to meet their needs, do whatever we can to help with the flooding issue obviously we have in town. We've been heavily involved working with the DEP, the DOT, to try to get the things brought on by Route 287 flooding issues and that mitigated to the best of our ability. Not always too successful, but we've been working on it. Another thing we do is a hazard mitigation plan. It's done every 4 years, and we just completed it. And what we did, we sat down with all the borough department heads in town, administrative people, got together and addressed the needs of all things that could possibly be financed through some grant money from the federal government. And we scored very well, and hopefully we're going to get some reaction out of that and some monies, and help us to do some more mitigation work and do things like generator purchasing, things like that. It's a lot of work to do that plan, but we've scored very well in the past, and we did again this time, so hopefully we'll get something out of that. So I think that kind of covers OEM. Obviously we respond to all disasters. I've been to every disaster, major disaster in the last 40 years in the borough of Oakland. Love my job, love helping people. It's a great and wonderful thing to do. We'll touch on the virus a little bit. When this first happened, we got very little information out of the state and federal government agencies. So on our own, we got the ball rolling. Our administrative staff, all our emergency personnel were outstanding. We got together, started crafting plans. The senior center, Ariel, got a food distribution program going right away. We do have an agreement with ShopRite where we were going to do mass distribution of food and drugs and whatever we needed to the people, but she got the ball rolling. And thanks to all the people that chipped in, volunteered to help their neighbors. It was a wonderful thing, and that's been working very well. We do have contingency plans, backup plans to the plans to the plans if we have to go that way. But it's been going well, but it's been a long, difficult time. Every day I receive a situation report from the county. I receive 100 reports, and not always a fun thing to read. Sometimes repetitious, and then I pass that along to the group we have established in the municipality to share that information. We spent numerous hours doing phone calls and conference calls within the municipality, at the federal level, state level, to gather information as to how to deal with this situation. It's been a long and tough task. My heart goes out to everyone, especially those that lost family members. Deeply concerned about children, what they've been going through, lack of being able to play out in the playgrounds, whatever. But again, my hat's off to the staff, did a great job, and also to all the people who volunteered. It's a wonderful thing to help people, and we really shined in that area. It's not over. We have to use obviously common sense. Hopefully the worst of it is past, and we'll try to be better prepared for the next time. Every disaster, the first thing not the first thing, but one of the major things we try to do is learn the lessons from a disaster. Nothing teaches you better. There's no drill you could conceive of in the world that's better than the real thing when it happens, as far as being educated and planning for the future. So again, thanks to everyone. Hope this has been informational and helpful to you. Signing off, Roy Bauer.
Hi, this is Jerry, and today we're doing some more of our Walking Through Oakland tour and admiring the old houses that are still part of Oakland's heritage and make Oakland such a pleasant place to be. So we'll be starting on Ramapo Valley Road and going up and down the road, looking at houses and talking about the families that used to live there and the reasons, purposes they were there. So and up Long Hill too. So let's get started. It was at 826 Ramapo Valley Road. On an old map from 1861 said it belonged to another of the Van Blarcom family, William Van Blarcom. It may have been restored. I'm sure there's been work done on it and restoration over the years, but you can still see the stone foundation in the base. And it was also the homestead of a farm that extended way into the woods, and probably the wood that they needed and that for heating and whatnot extended down to the Ramapo Valley Road. 726 Ramapo Valley Road. It belonged to the Ackerman family. It was a homestead of a large Ackerman family that had several pieces of property in this town and in other towns in the neighborhood, and had a large farm estate. It extended way into the neighborhood here. So fortunately the house is being beautifully maintained by Linda Greenfield these days. And she takes beautiful care of the yard as well as the house. The Hirsch family lived in this house for a number of years. And we were able to keep it in old-fashioned style, colonial revival style, including the internal and the furniture and the decorations of the house. It's interesting how the style is so similar to the style of the Van Allen house. It's the same workmanship. The old Storms house, which later became Fox Hall and eventually belonged to the Hirsch family, you could see on it how the original stone foundation house and the old stone Dutch building were added to later using the wooden frame on it, but you can look at the old chimneys and recognize the heating system. There must be a beautiful fireplace inside the building. As it says, this is the Storms Fox House. Frederick Storms built the house about 1785 on the foundation of an earlier structure, perhaps a barn. Built into a hill, it is called a bank house. The farm was in Yawpo, an Indian locality in present Oakland. Jacob D. Fox was the owner in 1828, and his son Jacob J. Fox added the frame kitchen wing in about 1849. Often remodeled, the Sheldon family in the 1920s rebuilt the old house in Dutch colonial revival style and named it Fox Hall. So this is 647 Ramapo Valley Road, where Vivian Walker, the woman who started the first aid squad in Oakland, used to live. But before that, it was a farmhouse. And there were still many acres in the back that have now been turned into houses. There were many farmhouses up and down the road. Some houses were barns and they were made into homes. Certainly this clapboard style became very popular and was often associated to another old Dutch stone house, both buildings being included in the same property, as you needed room for everything you need to do to be able to farm, and including animals and caretakers. There are many beautiful old houses up and down Ramapo Valley Road which have been nicely preserved. They belong to families with names such as the Ramsey family, the Bogart family that has been around the Oakland area for quite a while and throughout Bergen and Passaic counties. The Fox family was an old family name. So many houses may have burned down over time, but the foundations were still there and they were replaced and restored. There have been many uses for these houses. Some have horse farms involved with them, because this was also an area where racing horses were raised and bred. And there are still horse farms up and down the road According to Henry Hopper, who was Oakland's last blacksmith, the 410 building belonged to James Van Blarken, who was a farmer in town, owned quite a bit of the area in the downtown area. And his daughter, one of his daughters, was Annie Myers, and James Van Blarken had used the house as a hotel, a guest house, and Annie Myers also took it over. She enjoyed having guest house, and in the late 1800s, Mr. Banta also rented the house and used it as a hotel. And Mr. Hopper remembers being large parties there, with hundreds of people. They would have dancing and races, and it was very popular for people coming to visit. Mr. Van Blarken owned he owned a sawmill and an old Dutch stone house nearby, near to the one-room schoolhouse. And it could have been also the one across the Rama Valley Road that was taken down not too many years ago to be replaced by the Walgreens and Starbucks and a bank, and the old Dutch stone house had a law office in it until, maybe 10, 20 years ago. So it's nice to be able to use this old house for the office building that it is today. So now we're in the center of downtown Oakland, especially at the time when the railroad first came through. And I believe this was David Bush's general store that he ran for many years, and he also sold train tickets. Just at the time when the train first came through, he had a post office here, and I believe this was the site of the wigwam, which in the 70s and 60s, many young people from high school and grown-ups in town would come visit and have snacks and sit and chat. So a lot of people remember visiting the wigwam. And as part of another old house here in town is now the Remax office. So we'll find out just when this was built. There were several old houses here. There were restaurants or guest houses for the summer guests that would come and visit and enjoy entertainment down by the river. Here we've come back into the middle of town, across the street from the 410 building almost. This is at 383 Ramapo Valley Road. And according to the old records, this used to house Vern's sports shop with tackle and gear and bait for all the fishermen that used to come here in the earlier part of the 20th century. It belonged to Vernon Yeomans, and his family owned it until not too long ago, but in the meantime it has been beautifully restored and is now a very active office. And there are other stores out front which were also part of Vernon Yeomans' shops. So he had the house in the back and the shops were along the street in the front of the road. And this is 393 Ramapo Valley Road, right next door to the building, the sports shop, the former sports shop that we just saw. This is also a restored office building. It has a history, as people remember, alongside the sports shop, there was the wigwam, which was a luncheonette. So perfect for fishermen who were coming up to spend the day and then to take a break during the afternoon. And many young people, and as well as older people, remember coming in here for a little bit of shopping and snack and talk. 393 building was also the home of the Smileys Taxi service. So if you came out to Oakland by train and needed to get somewhere, along with visiting the wigwam for lunch, you could get a taxi at Smileys Taxi shop. So, hi, my name is Jerry, and today we're visiting Stewart Woods here in town. And if you've ever wondered about how it came to be that we have this beautiful nature center here in the center of town, well, there are several reasons for that. So the property has been here for quite a while. It's a wetlands. There are springs which feed water sources here and brooks. So even back, we have relics of Native Americans used to use this brook. So people have found arrowheads as Native Americans use this area perhaps for hunting, for living. And then the colonialists, the American colonialists, also found it to be a great site. So when George Washington visited the ponds, Yawpo, which is now Oakland, in 1777, his troops that were accompanying him also stayed here. There are relics at the time he was here. People have found buttons and such small items that indicate that his troops did stay here, especially because of the fresh water that was here. During the 1900s, the Groats family had a plant nursery there, because you could easily grow trees and shrubs and plants. And this family provided plants that the town people needed for their farms and houses. And Mr. Groats was the mayor during the early mid-1900s, and his wife Elizabeth ran the nursery. So as time went on, though, and the nursery was abandoned and closed, it came that a developer decided this would be a good place to build houses along the main street. But Mrs. Stewart went to the council meeting many times, perhaps over years, and spoke to the council and the mayor and said that this land is too valuable to be turned over to a developer for houses because of the water in the ground. And finally the mayor and council agreed with her, and they were able to purchase the land. And along with the Environmental Commission, who supported it also, the town purchased the land and it was made into a park. So there were many people, the Boy Scouts helped provide a path, and the DPW helped clear the underbrush. And at the ribbon cutting, the two daughters of Dorothy Stewart were invited, and both Linda Arns was her older daughter, and Denise Liss was her younger daughter. They both grew up here in Oakland, and they were very honored to accept the donation of the stone and the plaque in the park. And Linda read a poem by her mother about about nature and the wonderful part of living in Oakland and enjoying the trees and the nature that is definitely a strong part of our life here. So the Environmental Commission and the Mayor and Council got together and cut the ribbon on the dedication stone. And there was quite a get-together. There were hundreds of people came on that day, and the Public Events Committee provided refreshments. And now the park is still there. You can see some of the trails and pathways that have been laid by a Boy Scout for his Eagle Scout project. And the park is still there, still being maintained by the Department of Public Works. And it can be visited. There are trails, nature trails up the hill behind it. You can go to view different sites that are just typical to this area, where stones from the glacial period. And so we want to thank the Stewart family for helping to preserve and make this park a very pleasant place to visit. So try giving it a visit. This is stop number 2 on the nature trail in Stewart Woods. It's a little up the hill from the road and closer to Dogwood School. The Environmental Commission has a space on its page on the borough website. You can go to the Environmental Commission page and find the listing of what the meaning of these stops are what you'll find at stop number 2, for instance. So you can see there's a large stone circle here, which seems natural, but it's probably left over from glacial times, or perhaps the farmers moved stones around, the settlers. But there are several stops. This is one of several stops on the trail, so it would be worth your while to go to visit the site and then to look on the borough website and the Environmental Commission page to see what you're looking at here, right here in downtown Oakland. If you're not familiar with where the site of Stewart Woods is, it's on Rama Valley Road. It's across the street from the First Aid Squad building, and it's at the bottom of the property below Dogwood School. There's a sports field down here, and there's parking for the sports fields. So if you want to visit it, you can drive up to Dogwood School and come down the side road and park in the parking spaces for the ball field of Dogwood School. Yes, the property is at 277 Ramapo Valley Road. It was part of the Demarest family farm estate so many years ago, because there was a large population of working people that were part of the Demarest farm, and it was most recently owned by Stephen Van Klein, who had an antique business, and he stored and displayed his antiques in the old stone and then wood clap building. This is the site of a house that was built in 1700s that was demolished around early 2000s because it could not be brought up to code. So the house was demolished, and you can still see some of the ruins of the structure. Here, I know the basement has been filled in. The old stone basement that was the foundation of the house. So there's still some remnants of the stonework that was here. And there are plans to make a seniors center extension for one day, but in the meantime, it's vacant property. It belongs to the borough. But this house is known as the Harold Johnson House, and it's right here next to the gas station on Ramapo Valley Road. So this site has been around here a long time. Harold Johnson was a blacksmith. So he started out taking care of horses, shoeing horses. And as time went on, he changed from taking care of horses to taking care of cars. So today, this is what has become of Harold Johnson's house. It belonged to John Mendigo. And then John Mendigo's house was here too. John Mendigo was a farmer, as were most people, and he had property from this site all the way down to Ramapo Valley Road, where he had also an apple orchard and trees growing and grain and farm products growing. And that house is still here, and it's been taken care of. And it's just the beginning of his property that extended all the way down to the river. So that's how things evolve, from taking care of shoeing horses to taking care of filling up gas tanks and repairing cars. So this was the Samuel P. Demarest House of the Demarest family. It was well known in Bergen County. We even have a town named Demarest, but there was a large family. Samuel Demarest and his brothers and family members and offspring owned many pieces of property in town. They owned apple orchards and farms, and they had wood to provide for building and fires to send down to Patterson and other places. So he was quite a leader of the church and had provided occupations for many people in town. So his house is still here. And William Potash, owns the house and does a great job of maintaining it along with his children and grandchildren. 115 Long Hill Road was the site of a a house belonging to the Spear family for many, many years, since before the Civil War. John Spear owned it, and his brother David Spear. And when David Spear became a police officer around 1930, also for the borough of Oakland. So the house, the Spear house, was here for many years until just recently, when the house was taken down and replaced with a more modern house. So this is the house that now is a little further from the road. But it's interesting that the Spears owned their own property into the woods here, farm property, and down along Rama Valley Road. There was a Spear family had an inn down there where announcements were made about the Civil War and many other things. And also they owned the sand pits in the back. So the Spear family was around for generations and generations. And now we have a new house, which looks somewhat like the old Spear house. So this is the original Spear family homestead as it existed up until a few years ago, that the new owner of the property tried to reproduce to some extent. Here, this is part of the Spear family that had a long history of going back many generations, and also the Romaine family lived here too. The Romaines were also involved with the Spears, as they were all residents of the town, and they also use this house. This is a picture from outside of the original building with the wood molding and the old style construction inside. So this was just before the house was demolished by the new homeowner for reconstruction.
Well, for the last time, that just about does it on this episode of This Week in Oakland, our finale, episode 12. And I gotta say, I mean, like, can you get a more beautiful shot than this? We live in such a great borough, great scenery, great nature. Most importantly, though, I want to make sure I bring up fantastic volunteers. And I want to say thank you to every single person who has made a segment for this program. Thank you to the people behind the scenes who have done the editing as well. We greatly appreciate you and all of the work that you do. And we've had a lot of fun, and we've learned a lot of things trying to do this whole program virtually remotely, essentially. And I think, it's been great. It's been a learning experience, but we've heard from a lot of you out there in Oakland that you very much enjoyed this program, and we're glad that you enjoyed some original programming. And I would invite you that if you're interested in volunteering and helping to make other programs and series like This Week in Oakland, please send us an email to occ@oakland-nj.org. Well, I don't know the next time we'll be seeing you, but again, thank you so much for your support and for your viewership of these episodes of This Week in Oakland. And until the next time we talk, I'm Ryan Schwertfeger. I'll see you around town.